Well, hello everyone, and welcome here to week number 3 of our quarantine period version of AZ Sports Weekly. I'm Caleb Bouchy, being joined here by Wills Rice. We have a jam-packed show here that might last more than just 1 hour because we got two-time Arenabowl champion and now is a color commentator, Sherdrick Bonner. But we want to get into one quick segment and talk about all the latest news going on in Arizona sports. ASU basketball has recently come on the huge spotlight, especially on the anticipated season. It's not going to happen until November, and we hope that's going to be the expected start date. But I'm constantly hearing the news, especially the constant theme, Bobby F. and Hurley. I mean, I'm not going to swear on here, but the huge star recruit they got, Josh Christopher, a top 10 recruit, putting ASU basketball on the map. Wills, what are your thoughts about this? He might end up being a one and done player, but I think
absolutely he will be a one and done. I don't even want ASU fans to get their hopes up, but I mean, it's not really to be taken lightly. This is a big deal for ASU. I mean, the reason Herb Sendek got fired is because he had some good players. He had James Harden. We had some good teams, but he could never recruit, and that was the big thing about ASU and Bobby Hurley is starting to build a program here. And anytime you can bring in a top 10 recruit in the country, somebody that, especially in college basketball, could single-handedly lead you to a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8. I mean, for ASU, this is a huge deal. He's a higher recruit than James Harden was at ASU, and James Harden is the last time that ASU's won an NCAA tournament game. So, I mean, I think it's a really exciting time for ASU. A huge, huge pickup.
What do you think of the strategy? Because you said, don't get your hopes up. I think he is going to be a one-and-done player. Should ASU, like players like Lukens Dort, continue to go for these one-and-done players? Because I think it's not so much of a great idea because you're kind of betting everything on that one season that you have.
But if you're seriously trying to contend for a national championship, because every team, if you were to ask Bobby Hurley 3 years ago, what are your goals for this ASU team? He's going to tell you, we want to win a national championship. And obviously 3 years ago, ASU was not going to win a national championship. But, every team wants to win that. And to get that, you need to have the best players. And those are the Zion Williamsons. And when you start building players like a Josh Christopher, the next class, another top 10 recruit could say, hey, he played there, he exceeded, and he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. So why don't I want to go there and take over that legacy? And that's how you build a basketball program. Ask Duke, ask Kentucky, ask UNC. They're all one and dones there, and there's a reason those teams are in the top 10 every single year.
That's a good point to bring up. This is the last question before we have said join us here. But does ASU basketball, does this increase their chances of possibly winning a potential Pac-12 tournament title?
If there's a year to do it, this is it. Peyton Pritchard of Oregon is gone. USC's got a good recruiting class. U of A has always been dangerous in the Pac-12, but man, there's really not a super strong Pac. Oregon's going to be good because they always recruit well and they have a good recruiting class again. But man, ASU, if Remy Martin and Romello White can come back, this is the year to do it. To get the first one, this is the year.
So it's all or nothing, basically, on this episode.
Yep, exactly.
That's a good point to bring up. All right, well, we're going to have one of our interviews come in. We're going to have said, let's make the quick transition graphic to the interview. All right, well, so excited to introduce this next guest. One of the best football players I've watched for many years since I was a little kid, especially growing up watching the Arizona Rattlers. Although some years I was rooting for the Orlando Predators, he made this team pretty foolish. But now he pursues a career as a color commentator with CBS Sports and AT&T SportsNet, and is none other than Mr. Sherdrick Bonner. So great to have you on the show. The last time I think we talked was, I believe, 2014, 2015. That was probably a lot younger. But it's great to have you here on here.
Much, much younger you were, man. You're making me feel old, Caleb. I'm like, oh, my gosh, Father Time is following me around, taking care of all my business right now. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. All spectacular. In my third year at Arizona State. So, yeah, glad to have you here and kind of, take a trip down memory lane and how you're doing with all this coronavirus madness. So
it's definitely something new for all of us, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think this is probably going to go down, and hopefully this is the only time it goes down is the times everything is on pause for sport.
The world stopped.
Yeah. It literally did. And I think once all the professional leagues shut down, everything else was we're like, we're done. We're done. Everybody else is done. So now it's a waiting game, trying to be smart about everything and just spending quality time with the people you need to be around.
Yeah. But before we get into all that, I kind of like want to turn the clocks back all the way back to the 90s when it started, and kind of talk about your career in the Arena Football League, or even probably before that. What made you get into playing football in the first place?
Let's see. Played in college at Cal State Northridge. Had a great time there, and kind of was on the fence. Wasn't really getting a lot of attention coming out of college as far as moving on and continuing to play. A couple teams wanted me to come in and play safety, wanted me to do other things, and I wanted to play quarterback. So I sat out for a couple years and started playing in flag football leagues and just kind of enjoying the game again, and then went to a tryout in Arizona, and the rest is history.
When you were first introduced to arena football, did you have any dreams of playing in the NFL? And was this like kind of a way of trying to get your foot in the door at the NFL, or did you end up actually enjoying it a lot more than you thought?
A little bit of both, Caleb. I got to be honest. So, like, I really wanted to play in the NFL. Now, that's every kid's dream, right? To play at the highest level, to be great at the highest level. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Didn't have any other avenues, let's just say that. So once I got into arena football and figured out how great a game it was, and, didn't hurt that I was in Phoenix where the fans were phenomenal. You spend a lot of time there. You know how great they are there. So once I spent a lot of time in the game and in the arena there and just kind of getting into it, I truly fell in love with it. I really didn't want to go anywhere ever.
Well, that's awesome. And then moving on to 1994, and I believe the Rattlers were just was that their third season? Because they were introduced as an expansion team in 92, and you guys won the championship in 94 on the road. And, take me through that Arenabowl. You guys were quite the underdog. I mean, at the time, and I think the league was still like this, the Arenabowl was hosted by the highest seed.
The Stars come out tonight in the Arena Football League Championship. A guy named Sherdrick Bonner burst onto the Arizona scene this year to throw for 51 touchdowns. Game clock's running down. They just do get it off. Bonner looking with time. End zone 60. Bennett just launching it in the air. Who's got it? Incomplete. Arizona wins.
Shell had it and he lost it. Richard Holt, magnificent play. Icing on the cake. You've been in so many big games yourself in your career. Sherdrick Bonner had to stand up and play strong. What was it like when he gave up those 2 timeouts in the third quarter? You really looked ripped.
He was being cautious. We knew we just had to execute. We had to know what we were doing. And, it ended up probably being a smart thing to do because we didn't want to make a mistake at that stage. We wanted to talk about it. We wanted to know what we were doing. But
from quarterback to quarterback, you won't hear a bad word. All right, we'll go back up to Steve Fiziak.
And there it is, the Arenabowl trophy. And the man who broke up the...
So what was that experience like in 94 coming in and stunning a lot of Orlando fans?
Well, I think the biggest one for us that year was Albany was a great team as well. So we took care of them in the second round in their place. And they had beaten us twice through the regular season badly. So they'd beaten us twice. They beat us once badly. We went on the road and snuck out a victory. Beat them late with a late touchdown pass at the end of the game. And then that gave us a little bit of confidence going into Orlando, who was loaded with, Barry Wagner, the Webby Burnett's, Ben Bennett's. All those guys were legends in the game, and they had crushed us twice. They were 13-point favorites. We went to the Arenabowl the night before. You've been to a few of those, Caleb. And not one mention of the Arizona Rattlers, period. Not one player on the all-league team, not one player anywhere. So it was just a little added incentive and extra mustard for us to go out and be ready to throw that first punch in their face. And there was a ton of people there. They were excited and into it, but we kept that crowd at bay.
Yeah.
one of the questions I had is, after talking tonight, you and Ari and Caleb and I have done Rattlers games together, and just kind of being that environment, the Arena Football League, and I know it's the Indoor Football League now, but they don't really get a lot of nationwide love. And every player and coach and, fan loves that community. Why do you think they don't get that national love? Do you think it's, people think it's a knockoff of the NFL and that's why they don't even give it the shot to watch it? Or what do you think the kind of stigma behind the AFL was?
I think there's a number of stigmas. Number one, I don't think people realize how much talent there is in all of the indoor leagues. I mean, it's talent all over the place. There's guys that can play within, if given the right opportunity at the right place, they can play on the next level. And I think just getting over that it's inside. So the true fans of the Arena Football League are people that have, what can I say, guys maybe that played in high school, played both ways. Because when I first came up, you played both ways. There was two players that didn't, quarterback and a wide receiver, and maybe two DBs that didn't play offense, or a rusher. And there was some skill sets that guys had to play both ways, and everybody can relate to that. Any kid that played high school football can relate to having to play both ways and really kind of grinding it out. I think the effort, and then there's not $1 million contracts. So people love it. And then the other people that don't believe it is a real game or a talent-laden game. They see the pay scale and the salaries, and they're like, well, it's garbage. They're not, those guys aren't good. But if you look up and down the rosters, what do you see college-wise? You see Georgia. Yep. You see Clemson. You see Florida State. You see USC. You see Arizona State. You see all these big-time schools represented in the indoor league. And so talent-wise, it's phenomenal. They just don't know what they just don't know.
Yeah. I remember Caleb and I's first game. We were probably in third grade or something. We were broadcasting with these young kids. It was my first ever Arena Football game. And I think Nick Davila threw for about 6 or 7 touchdowns that game. And I was like, holy
crap, the game, or
man,
was that the half? Was that the half or the game?
I don't even remember. I just remember Nick Davila.
Special. That's
one name that from the 3rd grade, I just instantly remember that name. I was like, that guy can throw the dang football. And I was like, wow, this definitely has my attention. And then they do a great job also in the Arena Football with the fans. The Rattlers have that super loud cannon that I know Caleb's not a fan of that one, but it's just really, they do a really good job getting the fans involved. I kind of wish it had a bigger backing, because I think, we've seen the two leagues, the AAF and the XFL, kind of fall out now. But, the Arena Football League has been around for a while, and it has had a lot of great, you and Ari have both just had amazing stories and friendships still out of this day. And it's pretty disappointing that it's, doesn't have that bigger following.
Yeah. And when you look at it, it spawned a bunch of different leagues. So the IFL,
yep.
The Indoor Football League, the NAL, which Caleb knows about. Those are great leagues. There's tons of talent. It's really too bad, because it's such a great game.
Absolutely.
And the game speaks for itself. And some people see it on TV, and it's a little bit different. As you found out in the 3rd grade, is if you go in person and see it in person, it's a whole different kind of rush. It's like it's a whole different feeling, the excitement, Absolutely. The energy in the building.
And they're playing in an NBA arena for the Rattlers, kind of just that atmosphere that you don't get in an NBA game. That
crazy raucous,
exactly.
Especially in Phoenix. Suns fans have been known to kind of sit on their hands a little bit, unless
Absolutely.
it really.
Well, easy,
crazy.
Because I'm a Suns fan, so.
Well, so am I. I still have my jerseys. I still have my Alvin Adams jersey, Connie Hawkins, Kevin Johnson's. I'm Suns fan as well. So.
Well, you mentioned a few of the traditions that the Rattlers have, and the cannon blast was for sure one of the biggest things I hate. It took me several years to get over that thing. But, they played at Talking Stick Resort Arena, and I think the most interesting fact about that is that arena was not even meant for arena football, because the field was the same exact size of the hockey rink. So they're on one side of the arena, it looks like there's a giant sinkhole on one of the end zones, which was pretty.
Yeah.
If you're in that upper deck, you can't see down, right? You can't see below to see what's going on underneath you. So you just wait to hear the rest of the crowd react and then go with it.
But I did recognize that on one of the ends, because there's rebound nets and the field goal, there's like this kind of the Platinum Club suite area.
Right.
And I noticed some of the teams use that to have the ball bounce off a kick return, so they have a chance to retrieve it. Did you guys kind of have that same sort of strategy?
Well, I think after, because you're talking about that concrete pillar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, once the officials realized, and it only took a few games, once they realized that the ball would hit that cement and kick out about 30 yards, and there was no chance for the recovery or the return team to get it, they made that play dead. So as soon as it hits the cement block in there, it was a dead ball. That play was over with.
Oh, that's such a buzzkill.
Genius.
No way, it's not a buzzkill. I'm an offensive player. I want the ball back.
But you talked about a lot of the great talent. Kurt Warner, I believe, is one of them.
Die-hard fans, it's a dream come true. Home field advantage in the league's biggest game. The Arizona Rattlers could feel the pressure. Last week, their Arenabowl hopes were in jeopardy in a struggle with Tampa Bay. And when quarterback and leader Sherdrick Bonner went down with a broken leg, the Rattlers' dreams might have fallen with him.
2 years ago, we were 1 foot away from being in the Arenabowl. Last year, we were 1 foot away from winning it all. So I think that slogan fits us perfect. Every year, we've taken that one more step. And right now, we want to take that final step, and we want to get that championship and bring it home to Des Moines.
Warner going for it all. Cooper's got 2 steps on Walker. Just like that, touchdown, but a flag in the Iowa backfield may bring this one back. With 28 seconds here in the first half. Adrian's with Sherdrick Bonner.
Hey, Mike, for a minute, kick back, put up your feet. The unfortunate thing about Sherdrick Bonner is that his leg is busted and he has no choice here. He's got himself kind of tucked away back here in the tunnel, but keeping a close eye on the game. How does your leg feel at this point after the break against Tampa Bay?
I don't feel it at this point, but it usually hurts. But right now I have so much adrenaline going on that I can't really feel much of it. I'm just excited. I'm proud of the guys. They're playing hard right now, and that's all you can ask.
Donnie Davis has really tried to fill your shoes. They're a different size, certainly, but he's really playing a pretty heady game so far, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's a great quarterback in his own right. He's showing his stuff, and he's got a lot of stuff to show. So I think there's going to be some more fireworks from him.
Hang in, man. Mike, I can tell you this is driving him nuts down here.
28 seconds remaining here in the first half of Arenabowl 11. Cooper gets it off the net. He's got some running room. He's gone if he can get by Black. Sayonara, touchdown, Arizona. Woo!
Down the field, but you have your post route. You always have your deep route.
2nd and 3. Davis up top. Check Stater, touchdown. These fans go down to the field. The players will be there. They will mingle. They will sign autographs. A real love affair between the city and its football team.
And it doesn't look like Iowa's going to call that timeout. This one's going in the book.
So Danny White, for the 2nd time in his 6-year career as head coach of the Arizona Rattlers, wins an Arenabowl championship.
Uh,
That was the first Arenabowl championship you guys won. And I think it's the only one you guys won at home still to
Right.
this day.
Yeah, it's I actually broke my leg in the 4th quarter against Tampa Bay that season going in. So we were loaded. Our team was great. We had battled Tampa, and so 4th quarter comes around, I break my leg. So we go into the game against Kurt Warner and Iowa Barnstormers, and I believe they thought they had the game won because I was out. And Donnie Davis stepped in, and Hunky Cooper led that defense, and those guys stepped up, and we crushed Kurt Warner. So I like to tell people all the time I have a NFL Hall of Famer on my ring.
Oh, my God. Moving on to some of the you've competed in multiple Arenabowls, and I think but before I get to that, I want to mention the 2002 playoff game against Carolina, which was probably one of the most memorable last plays of the game, other than Arenabowl 24, which I'll talk about that later. But often that touchdown, I think you thrown to Chris Horn.
Chris Horn.
it just shows that it's stuff you can't do in the NFL, throwing off the net.
Going to prevent defense. This is for late in the playoffs. It is live off the net. It is loose. Horns got it. Touchdown.
Was that kind of the plan? Like, take me through that play. What was it like?
Well, it was the plan, and Coach White was trying to get us to call timeout, and there was really no reason for it. That's the only thing we had left to do. I wasn't going to throw it short of the end zone and then have someone get tackled and have time ran out. So the funny thing about this is Chris Horn was such an astute kid. I always threw balls to him at practice off the net for kick returns. And so this kid actually figured out, because I'm a lefty, which way the ball would spin depending on where it hit off the net. And if you ever go back and have a chance to look at that video, you could watch when I go back to throw the ball, I throw it, he's trailing everybody a few yards behind, and he kind of gets there late, and as you see it, it gets ready to hit, he sees where it hits, and he shoots straight right before the ball even comes off the net, and the ball comes right to him. It was unbelievable. A little bit of luck, but, that was the plan.
Would you say that was probably one of the most thrilling wins since it came off? It was the last play of the game, and it was in the playoffs. I mean, I think
we were the number 2 seed, and we were about to get bounced by Carolina, who wasn't that great. We just didn't play well. They took it to us the whole game. We were down 18 in the fourth, came back, and then won it on that. So it was awesome. It was a great feeling.
Oh my gosh, I bet. And the crowd was just absolutely just went bonkers during that play. It was probably one of the best plays I've seen. But moving forward now to 2004, Arenabowl 18, which you probably don't want to talk about.
America West Arena in Phoenix, the site of Arenabowl 18, the Arena Football League championship game. The top-seeded Arizona Rattlers and the San Jose SaberCats.
From Fort Campbell, Kentucky, specialist Jimmy Roberts, quarterback from Cal State Northridge, number 13, Sherdrick Bonner.
Bonner going for the end zone, and he's got it for a touchdown.
Maybe 3.
There are the numbers on Bonner. Hunky Cooper in motion on a toss. He's going to cut up, lowers his head. Still no signal now. Touchdown.
All season long.
And it'll go for the touchdown. James Rowe once again. The ball bounced, obviously. So first down after the penalty. Bonner stumbled and then goes to the end zone. Incomplete. No touchdown. Did he catch the ball? Or Swante Bryant? Bonner's pass. Caught. Flag down. It's a touchdown as it stands to Burley.
And I think it all kind of came down when San Jose made the mistake of scoring too early off of a kick return.
They did on an onside kick.
Onside kick. And they literally just grabbed the ball and took it right in. They didn't want to burn any time, which I thought was a huge mistake.
It was. And we let them get away with it.
Here it is. There's the high kick and taken for a touchdown.
Shouldn't have scored.
By Chuck Reed, and he scored too quickly.
Yeah, I don't think Chuck should have scored. I think Chuck should have fallen down on the 1 yard line or 2 yard line.
They left 30 seconds on the clock.
On the other end. But that play or that game, all we have to do, because we're not, neither team is really getting any stops in that game. It's like back and forth. It's a great game, back and forth. Great offense, solid defense, but the offense is just better that day, scoring. So right before the half, there's probably, I want to say 8 seconds left in the half. They throw a crossing route to James Rowe, and he breaks like 6 or 7 tackles and scores to put them up to go into the half or to tie the game. And then they got the ball coming out. So now we're chasing them. They were chasing us the whole first half. And then so we were chasing and then didn't score at the end of the game, and they won it on our field. Wasn't a good feeling.
Oh, yeah, I bet. And those, I mean, I'm sure it probably wasn't as bad as 2011. I think that probably beats it for sure. But those kind of last 2 plays in the last 2 drives you had, the 2-point conversion you guys went for.
Touchdown. This is for Burley, and Danny White, the riverboat gambler, is going to roll the dice on a 2-point conversion. Sherdrick Bonner rolls, delivers, incomplete.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Coach White called the play, so we, no matter what he called, we were going to make it work. We were going to try to make it work. He was a genius, like so great offensively. So when he called something, we all believed it was going to work, and San Jose just shut stuff down.
And then going to that last play, I believe you tried to throw to Hunky Cooper in the end zone.
So a 7-point game for the championship. One last play for Arizona. Can they do it? From the 5-yard line of San Jose, veteran quarterback Sherdrick Bonner sends Burley in motion. Bonner retreats.
And I was kind of confused what was going on. I think Cooper had the ball, but San Jose kind of stripped it away from him. From your angle, what ended up happening? Did he have control of the ball, or?
No, I don't think he ever really had control. He was stumbling.
Bonner retreats, drills, caught. No, incomplete, and San Jose wins. Have once again won the championship. There it is. Scramble for the football. Bryant and Davis.
Yeah, and it actually went right through Hunky Cooper's arms. Then it bounced back in the back of the end zone. The ball has actually escaped from that one all the way back to the back of the end zone.
We came out of his break. There was some contact, but at that point of any game, they're never going to make that call, right? Much less a championship game. They're never going to make a call. So he came out of his break because it was stumbling a little bit, and I tried to throw it low to him. And he came down with it, and I think it was Omar Smith came through and kind of helped rake it out of there, make sure he couldn't control it, and that was it. But I would go to that guy again on the next play, and the next play, and the next play.
Yeah.
I kind of had a question. You've already shared so many good stories, but now that sports are not here and kind of taken away, how do you reflect that? What does sports mean to your life as a commentator, as an ex-player? Like, what if sports, as now that they're taken away, what do you think? Do you think they mean more to you? Do you think, sports have shown they're a vital part of the economy now? I mean, there's a lot of things that sports have shown that they're not just some game. What does sports specifically mean to you now?
The same thing it's always meant, like everything. Like it's, my boys are both very athletic. They both love to play sports. They're involved with football, basketball, and lacrosse. And if we're not doing that, we're outside playing basketball. So their whole lacrosse season was wiped out. They basically just started practicing, and stuff got turned around. My youngest son's team is back-to-back state championships in lacrosse. They both had great basketball seasons, so they were excited to go into lacrosse and get things going. But it's just one of those things. You know things change sometimes. You've got to understand what's important, and everyone being safe and doing the smart things during this time is what's important. They can still go outside and play and run around, and we throw the ball around. We play basketball outside. We've got a court right outside. So we can still do all those things and still get that, Nick. What I miss the most is the live Sports Center, like the highlights of the day. Those kind of things are what's missing. But good for ESPN to come out with this Jordan story right now, because it's amazing.
What are your thoughts on it? Tell me about it. I watched it too. I'm sure Caleb did. Tell me your thoughts on it.
I didn't need to see it to know who was the GOAT. Like I really didn't need to see it, because I witnessed it live. Watching him get beat up his first few years, and then making the adjustment to his body, getting more physical, getting stronger, never taking nights off. Guys are load managing because they got to load manage nowadays. He never load managed. He played. When he came to your town, he was playing, and he was putting on a show no matter how he felt. And to me, there's nobody like the guy ever. Love LeBron, think he's a freak of nature with his size, but Jordan is the GOAT, hands down.
Fair.
Oh, that's fair, of course. I'm not really a big fan of Michael Jordan because what he did with the Suns, especially since the Bulls won a championship on the Suns court. So, but he's definitely one of the all-time best players, for sure. But, going on a different topic, when you made the transition to broadcasting, what made you want to get into commentating arena football games or even college football?
Well, initially I started back in Phoenix in 2000 and I'm sure you know Rich Reed, Caleb. He works with Cox. He's producer, he's a great dude. But he got me on with Cox 7. They were doing a local live high school football game every Thursday night. So I worked with Kevin Ray, and it was awesome. It was a good time. That's where I started. And then once, everything went belly up in 2009, for the AFL, I went back to a radio TV school. It was Colorado Media School. Went there for 10 months, learned the ins and outs of the business, and just kind of kept it going. The next thing I did was sent probably the best email I've ever sent in my life. I sent an email to Ari Wolf because he works with the NFL Network, and he didn't have to answer it. We kind of knew each other in passing. But the guy emailed me right back, and 3-4 weeks later, I was doing a game with him on NFL Network. And from then, it's just kind of gone on from there. So I, owe a lot of my arena stuff to Ari because he got me back in and really took the time to answer an email that he really didn't have to, right? So everything else just came after and fell into place.
Oh, that's awesome. Especially because I know Ari said you guys are really good friends and you won an Emmy together, which that's in the background I see.
That's awesome.
2000,
16, I think, 15, 16, something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's for the border war with Colorado State versus Wyoming.
And was that game on, was it AT&T SportsNet? Or I believe it was Root Sports.
Root Sports then, yes.
But now they just renamed, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah, rebranded.
But, kind of going into how broadcasting has changed, one of the things I really liked in the Arena Football League, and I'm sure you definitely experienced this as a commentator and as a player, was when they did live microphones, live mic-ins.
Yeah.
So kind of going at from a player side, I imagine it's so hard to not use profanity when you're live on TV. Was that did that kind of affect how you were playing the game?
No, I never really had a problem with it because I wasn't really unless somebody did something like dirty or cheap, I wasn't really a guy that was just filth, floor, and filth, as people would say. I was never that guy, but it happens because it's an emotional game, and that's why most broadcasts will have a little delay of what's happening before they get to it. But while I was playing, I never really concerned myself with it. Just kind of try to take care of business, and didn't want to be ridiculous, rude on there because most of the time my mom's watching. I'm not going to be cussing in front of my mom like that.
But I know one of the years, I believe it was 2014, when you're on the field reporter for the LA Kiss game against Portland, the first home game, and Bob McMillan, and I'm going to try to find the archive footage on this, but Bob wearing No Tomorrow, and I saw you get involved, saying, hey, you're live on TV. And then you interviewed him going into halftime, and he didn't care. He threw a bunch of swear bombs and ended up getting a huge fine. What was that like, especially as a broadcaster trying to keep your cool on that?
Well, I mean, Bob's one of my best friends in the world. We were teammates in Arizona for a lot of years. We kind of grew up in the game together. So I'm never going to be mad at Bob. I was just trying to, hey, dude, chill out, relax. You don't need to but if you know him and how he played the game, extremely emotional, loved the game and played with his heart. And it was just one of those things where the team wasn't playing the way he wanted to play, and he let everybody know about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was probably one of the most colorful interviews I've ever seen on live television for sure. So, Wills?
Yeah, I had a question. You kind of inspired me about the Jordan documentary, and Caleb talking about this swearing fest over here. Tell us a story behind the scenes of like your playing day that, the average fan or the average person doesn't know. Either teammates, it could be a team event, whatever. Tell us something behind the scenes.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Put me on the spot, Wills. Oh.
I'm not saying like bad, any good stories that, just teammates, anything that's been, just hasn't been told before to the average fan.
Well, I do know this. Joe Birch was one of our centers. His wife at the time, or girlfriend at the time, we were out having a barbecue at the pool, and I can't remember whose kid fell in, but she was like Wonder Woman, like on a knee, didn't even have to get in the water, but like reached in, and I believe she played basketball at ASU, but I mean, reached in without barely even getting wet and had the kid by the ankles and pulled out of the water before he could really get even in the water. And I was just standing there stunned, like, that's the best athlete at the pool right there. Best
better athlete than her boyfriend.
He was an O-lineman, so he's a brute.
Hey, those are the best athletes on the field, all right?
They're the smartest. I don't know about the best, but they're the smartest.
I'm just kidding.
Going back to the broadcasting, during the years that you were commentating college football games on CBS and Root Sports, and I believe most of the games you did were with Ari, but either way, how many hours did you spend with the play-by-play announcer on preparing for the game? And was there any notes that you had that you wanted to, kind of dive into, whether if it was the intro of the broadcast or just in-game?
Speedy Stewart has to have a breakout game. He has to be over 100 yards rushing and possibly 240 yards, all-purpose yards. Whew. If he does that.
The younger brother, Bernard McDonald, the sophomore.
Absolutely. Just on a power left, and he's able to cut back and use his vision. But you see his speed and breakaway power. And there you go, get the look from behind. Watch the good cutback right here. Use your stiff arm, young man, in open space, and he does it. Gets in there for the 16-yard TD.
We had a lot of fun tonight. Our Wolf alongside the Hall of Famer Sid Bonner and Sid. Cleveland looked like they were done in the fourth quarter, down by 13, but they find a way to get it done.
Yeah, they just kept grinding away, kept finding ways to make plays, and all it takes is one or two bounces your way. You're back in front. this game is so special like that. That's why we love it. Well, it depends on what all the factors in the equation. It depends who you're playing or who's up. We covered a lot of great Mountain West schools. Just some of the guys like covering Josh Allen, before he took off and got huge. I had the game where he was making his first start his sophomore year, and he blew his shoulder out running over a guy, and he was done for the year. But coming in, you could see, watching him throw. We went to walk through the day before, watching him throw the ball around. You could see how much talent this dude had. So that's something that we took from meetings on Friday, and we formulated a plan on how to attack the open and who we wanted to spotlight. And it was Josh Allen, because he was a guy making his first start. There was a lot of hopes and dreams living up in Wyoming country through this kid. And who knew later on he would go on and become a number one pick, or first round pick, excuse me.
Wow. And then also, was there any network that you liked working with? Or was there really any difference? Our local network here is awesome. Like AT&T SportsNet, it's Rocky Mountain based, so we cover a lot of, Colorado State, Air Force, Wyoming, New Mexico, and we'll go to Reno. We'll go to to Nevada, Reno. We'll go to San Jose State and a lot of the other Utah State. But our region is I-25 corridor pretty much, and it's incredible. They do such a great job, and they handle all the games with such care, and they really love it. And I could say the same thing for CBS Sports Network as well. They were the same, but being around AT&T Sports Network as much as I have, and the people that I get to work with, Mark Stout, Drew Goodman, who is the Rockies one of the Rockies voices for the baseball team, the MLB team. Those guys are phenomenal, and they're true professionals, and it keeps me raising my level in my game week in and week out.
I have one last question for you. I mean, obviously the AFL doesn't have the huge names. Give us the name of someone you think was one of the better athletes you've seen play that people don't know about, and what made him special.
Athletes or player?
Either. Give me either one.
I'll give you both. How about I give you one
I like
of each?
that. 2 for 1.
Player I thought was Nick Davila.
I 100% agree. I thought that guy could have gone to the NFL, maybe practice squad, but
it's, you know what, it's timing and those kind of things. But for I mean, I can't even express. Like I love his passion for the game. The guy was a flat out winner. I mean, he could have won pretty much 5 straight Arenabowls.
Yeah.
When you think about it, they won 3 straight. They lost one at the end of the game in 2011 to Jacksonville. If not for a botch call at the end of the game in San Jose in 15, they would have been in the Arenabowl again.
Oh, that was the game that was in Stockton, right?
The championship was, but they lost, that semifinal game as well. They lost. Reggie Gray fumbled going into the end zone. They didn't make the call, and Arizona loses. San Jose goes on and blows out Jacksonville. So
that game, though, I think he was in the end zone, and it wasn't until like a few probably milliseconds in that he started fumbling it away. No, San Jose had the ball and they fumbled while they were crossing into the end zone.
Right. He was bobbling it going in. Arizona recovered, and they didn't give him the call. So, what Nick was able to do, him and Kevin Guy, is unmatched. I think Kevin Guy is the best indoor coach probably of all time, and Nick Davila for sure is the best quarterback. Like, phenomenal what he was able to do. His numbers, his consistency year after year after year, outstanding. And athlete-wise, we had a guy and didn't really play that long, but his name is Maurice Bryan. He just passed away last year, but he was the best athlete I've ever seen in my life, ever, hands down. Weighed 190 pounds, would go in and throw on 330 pounds on the bench press 8-10 times, could jump 40 inches off the ground. You could throw the ball up to him anywhere, he would go up and get it. Phenomenal freak athlete, super fast, but just couldn't get himself reined in to be consistent enough and be focused enough to go to the next level.
Oh, that's awesome. And, talking about Nick Davila, I believe he eventually went back into the Arena Football League, even though the Rattlers were gone. He played for the Washington Valor. And I believe he got injured that took him out the rest of the season, which was kind of because he was for sure one of the most talented quarterbacks I saw when I first got into broadcasting. Me and Wills, I've been fortunate enough to call some of his games right when he was starting to make it become one of the best.
Right. So, I was actually doing that game where he got hurt. It was a game against Philadelphia in Philadelphia. And, they're getting beat. They were 2-1 on the season, I believe, or 1-2 or 1-1 on the season. They're in Philadelphia week 3, and he's fighting every bit of it. Philadelphia at the time was kind of a juggernaut. Had been playing extremely well, playing a long time together. So he's just being the champion that he is. He's fighting for every inch he's got. Scrambles out to the left side, gets hit up against the boards, and that was it. Terrible, because the guy would have rewritten the record books. I mean, wouldn't have been able to been caught. I mean, it's amazing what he did. That really hurt me when he was injured like that.
Was there a time that you saw players injured that? Because you were also a field reporter, did you ever approach them on trying to get them to talk?
No, I at that point, it was just kind of, you'd go and you'd wait for a report from the trainer, unless they came back out. If they came back out and were on the sideline and you give them a thumbs up, they're like, I'm good. So then you'd go over and ask them some questions. But if they weren't, they didn't come out, I wasn't going to chase them down in the locker room or anything like that. I'd go to the trainer and talk to the trainer, because, a lot of times coaches don't want information out, right? So if you go talk to a guy that he's going to probably tell you something and not really thinking you're on live TV or whatnot. So most of the time I would go to the trainer and try to give information just to keep that good pace with the coaching staff and with everybody you're working with.
Oh yeah, as I remember, was it Ari told us, he kind of built those connections with the coaches and the equipment manager, because there were some games he was the field reporter, and that was kind of his way into getting that kind of info.
Right.
Pretty cool.
The truthful info.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But with the Arena Football League gone, they folded operations last fall. And which was, kind of unfortunate. I think the league was kind of living on borrowed time anyways, because it was, I think, after the Players Union and the 2009 shutdown, they just weren't the same. But do you think the league could return at some point in the future?
I would never say never. I felt like they had a good commissioner in place. I thought he was doing a good job, but I think sins of the past had kind of come back and haunted him with debt and other kind of things. And anytime you're talking about millions of dollars and people losing that type of money, it's rough. And when you owe that type of money, it's rough. So I hope it does, because it's truly a great game. But who knows? And I'll never say never, but I hope it does.
When you saw, I'm not sure if you saw like leagues like the AAF and the XFL kind of, they won't mention the Arena Football League, but I'm sure they knew the situation that they were in. When you saw those leagues play out, did you think that in some ways it was a better game, or it was just not the same as the AFL?
Yeah, it's not even close to the same. I think the AAF kind of shot it too hard, too quick. The XFL did a much better job of really pacing themselves and kind of getting everything in line and in order, their money in line, everything in order, so that they could have a successful season. And then, they were taken out by COVID-19 as well. So the XFL was on pace to be good. They had some excitement to their game. I loved what they did with the kickoff. Those were exciting things, and they made the game exciting. Anytime guys have another opportunity to keep playing and make money, I don't care what league it's in, I'm all for it. More the better for all the guys.
Absolutely. And I think another memorable thing that was interesting about the XFL is the replays. They would have it up in the press box and someone be controlling it through, I think it was an Xbox controller.
Yeah, an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
So pretty innovative, but I'm pretty sure this could have been done years ago, which was pretty interesting.
The whole call to the booth is something that was started in the Arena League. So when we had the officials down live, they were mic'd up. They would go over to the TV, watch the play again, and walk you through what they were doing. And that started with the Arena League. So the XFL can't take claim to that. Now, they did up the game going to the Xbox controllers and all that stuff. But the call to the booth started with the Arena League. And
I think another innovative thing that the league did, and I'm not sure which league it was, but they put helmets on the camera. It was called Shut Vision. And during the instant replays, they would kind of show the players' view of the game, which I thought was pretty cool. So the league still has somewhat of a lasting effect on the way how sports networks still do their broadcast, even if it's not football. So
right. I also think you look at how many guys, there's been a number of guys signed from the XFL into the NFL. So it's pliable. It's guys getting the opportunity to continue to grow and get better that they wouldn't get had that league not been there. Maybe they go play in Canada, or maybe they don't. Maybe they stop playing and do something else. But the opportunity to be coached by former NFL coaches, guys that understand on the day-to-day basis what it takes to be successful on that level, gives them a better shot.
And, with the league gone, and obviously we have no idea if they're ever going to return, what's next for you? Are you going to be calling any more college football games in the future, or what's next?
Well, it depends what happens with this COVID-19. I plan on calling college football games. It's terrible that there's no football this summer for me. Spring, summer. It's like it's been a constant since 1993. So that's how old I am for you two young fellas. It's been a constant since 1993. Spring, summer was arena football, and it's not here. It's sad, but I get to spend a ton of time with my kids, my wife. We work out together, we run together, we do all kind of stuff together. It's fun. It's been a blessing for us.
That's awesome. And, to kind of wrap this up in the last question, since we are ASU Cronkite students and we have a lot of students that watch this show, and some of them want to be play-by-play announcers or want to work in an in-game broadcast, what advice would you give to any, future broadcasters that are in a play-by-play situation and they have to work with the color commentator, or even in a studio, because there's also sports analysts that were former players themselves? What advice would you give them?
I would just say treat them like you'd want to be treated. Like if you're a play-by-play guy, just try to understand, talk to them. Communication is the key. And because honestly, when you get to that level, the closer bond you can have with the guy that you're working with week in and week out, it makes for a better show because it doesn't look scripted. It just looks like it's two really good friends talking about what we all want to talk about, and that's sports, no matter what it is. So I would say get to know your color commentator, and same thing if you're a color commentator. If you guys have any ex-players that are in the Cronkite school that want to be an analyst, I would say tell those guys to get good with their play-by-play guy because that guy drives the show, and if you get a great one, they can make you look like a genius.
Do you think any analysts that only have playing experience in high school, do you think that they can eventually still build their way up and still not have any college football play in their resume or even in the pro leagues?
I would never say that anything's impossible because if you work hard enough and you understand what you're talking about, it doesn't matter, right? So if you get your foot in the door, and that's all you've got to do. If you can get your foot in the door, then you have an opportunity because I didn't have a huge college career. I only played a few years in the NFL, a couple cups of coffee here and there. So it was hard for me to get my foot in the door. But once I did, I was driven to kind of show that I belong there, right? That I could do the work. And that's all you got to do. If you do the work and you prepare, you'll be just fine.
Well, that's awesome. And thanks so much for joining us, Ed. Hopefully we hope you're staying safe with all this COVID-19 chaos, and I hope this is going to end soon. I mean, I think they're going to be reopening some of the states. But yeah, all the best to you. And thanks so much for joining us, man.
It's my pleasure. Will's good to meet you, my man.
Nice to meet you.
Hey,
stay safe, man.
I will. Caleb, say hello to your folks for me, and you guys stay safe as well.
Yes, will do.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, big thanks once again to Said earlier for joining us. For Will's Rice, I'm Caleb Bouchy saying goodbye for now. And as always, stay safe.